Hi everyone, this is Joe with DomainAcademy.com, and in keeping with our usual series, we're going to take a look at some domains that were sent to me via email, and I'm going to take you through the process of evaluating them to see how good they are and, if you should potentially invest in them. What I'm really concerned with here is taking you through the steps so that you can make wise decisions on any emails that you get or any lists that are presented to you for names that you should consider investing in. So we've got this SnapNames featured domain auctions. SnapNames is a big company and they're recommending a couple names. So we want to take a look at them. Flexiderm.com and Besst.com. So Flexiderm, they say, is a great brand for a bandage company or medical product. Easy to remember. Misspelling of popular Plexiderm, which I don't know how good that is. So we'll take a look and see if maybe that's a trademark. In our research. And then here's some comps that they put in: PharmaFlex, Flexicard, and Soliderma. So you could see this is what they pick as comps, and it lets you know the auction information. We're going to look at our own data around this and comps, and we're also going to check this Besst. Misspelling of Besst, this they say is one of the top reasons why you should get it. It's a rare one-word.com. I would beg to differ. Besst with two S's is not a word, so it is not a rare word, oneword.com. And it gets greater than 800,000 Google searches a month. And what we have to be careful with that is, are these Google searches looking for actually Besst with one S, and they're just misspelled? So we want to look at that as well. And then we've got some comps. I don't think these are great comps, and we'll take a look at our own tools to find out why, but just because they've got double S in them doesn't really mean that they're great comps. So Lessee is, I think, probably the closest one because it's more of a brand, right? With two S's. Less is the real word. Lessee isn't really a word. Posse and Yasso. So these are pretty reasonable comps as far as, Posse is a oneword.com, a true oneword.com, and that was probably undersold. But these other ones are double S brandable. So I think that they're reasonable, much more reasonable than these comps, but we'll take a look at why. So let's dive in. So we're going to start first by grabbing this name, Flexiderm, and we're going to go over to Domain Academy Tools. I've logged in to my Domain Academy account right on the home page on DomainAcademy.com. Once you get logged in, you can click over to your tools. And what we're going to look at right off the bat, I think, is the research snapshot. It's going to give us the most information. Again, you only get to use 150 credits, so you get to use this tool 150 times a month. You can see I've got 143 left, and when I get on my next 150 is November 20th. So you have to use these credits sparingly. They do provide a great amount of information, though, in one spot, so it's good to use on something that you're seriously considering buying. It takes a minute for it to run. We're querying a lot of different data points from external servers, so it takes a bit to bring it back. Right off the bat, I see that there's only 2 of these TLDs registered, which is not a great sign off the bat, right? So you can see that there's 2, Flexiderm.com and Flexiderm.shop. You can look and see that there's no search volume for this. It's a made-up word, and nobody's looking for it, so that's good to know. Nobody's advertising on this word, and you can see that there's no ads for the word. It's always good to go take a look yourself. We can go over here to Google. I'll show you how to do that. It's very easy, and we're going to just go look for Flexiderm, and you can see it is coming up as a typo of what they said, Plexiderm. So no one is really looking for Flexiderm by themselves. They're looking for this Plexiderm, which is probably a trademark, which we're going to take a look at. Domains that contain the SLD. So those are names that would be like my Flexiderm or your Flexiderm. So they contain that Flexiderm 2 keywords in them, Flexa and Derm, but also they contain something else, either prepend or append. You could take a look at some of the other information in here just real quick. We'll go through it. Do they rhyme? Is there alliteration? Is it hack? it's been registered for 10 years, so that's pretty good. This is some SEO data. Doesn't really have much SEO data. There's no companies that are using this name itself, so no one is using Flexiderm. I think we'll find that companies are using the misspelling of Besst when we take a look, but we'll check that next. And then you could just see some automated appraisals. So right now, I'm not seeing a lot of data that will compel me to bid on this name at all. I'm going to look at this, the startups. Is there any startups that use these names? Flexiderm? No. And we're going to see if anything's for sale. You could see that Flexiderm right now is for sale on Afternic for $16,000. And then these are the most similar ones. Vitalderm, Pharmaderm, Derm Savvy. These are the ones that we try and pick that are similar, and you can get an idea of what those are going for. But we want to take this one step further. What we're going to do is we're going to create a valuation worksheet. This will use that same credit, so you're not using an extra credit. It's pulling in all that same data that we just had, and you can adjust it as needed. If, for instance, you think that there, it says there's no hyphens, but there is a hyphen and it missed it, you could change that. So you can adjust what you need. But one of the things that's important is now we get to pull some comps, and we'll take a look and see what type of names sold that are similar to Flexiderm. So they put in their own comps. We're going to look at some comps ourselves. You could look, there's a couple ways to check this. You want to look at the venue that it's sold at. If it's sold on Afternic or Cedo, it's usually an end user sale, so someone who's willing to pay the most money for it, not an investor. But you can see that there's other venues that pop up where they sell that are more wholesale oriented, like maybe Go to auctions, or could be Sav or Dynadot auction. So you want to look at the venue. We're looking at the date. We want to see something that's relevant. We want it to be pretty close to the current year, and we want to look at the name, right? So this is what we're searching for, and we're using name bio. Flex at the start. This is not so important. They pulled this out, the algorithm, the aid at the end, in the middle, excuse me. And that's not really, it is in the word, but it's not really similar. That's why they have this chick a deal, because it's got that in the middle. And RM at the end, which is probably good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a look at the date real quick and see. Flex Care Homes, that's more like an exact match, of a type of home. It's not really a brandable type name like this, Flexiderm. Netatech is a brandable type. Nexopolis, again, brandable. And Bionutrition, that's kind of a brandable name. So if we look at these types of brandables that have been selling in the last couple of years, we see that they're selling for around $2,000, $2,300. And we can also look and say, what's the highest price that we saw? Thermoseal, that's a brand. It sold 2022. It's kind of similar to Flexiderm, right? So you could look at this as a comp and take a look at it. But this is the highest kind of brandable that meets these requirements. So we'll take a couple in. We're going to take this, and then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to take a couple of these similar ones. XSL, I think that is close, and we'll take a look at maybe Sense of Health. Flexiderm, doing with your skin has something to do with maybe Sense of Health. So we're going to take this, although health is a pretty good keyword to have and usually sells pretty well, and Flexa and Derm are not. So we're going to take that with a grain of salt. And then we could look and see how it fills in. Using that, you could see that the average sale is about $4,300. When we look at these comps, our retail value on this name might be somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000. $5,000 to $10,000 might be your maximum value, and your wholesale value, what you should expect to pay when you're going to pick this up to resell it, is somewhere between $300 and $2,000. So let's keep those numbers in mind, and let's take a look at the other name, Besst, with 2 S's, and we're going to see which one might be the better one to bid on. I really like Besst a lot better. It's not a typo. of Besst with one S or one word like they claim, but it is a very short brandable name. You know, it's 5 letters. It's taken in com, and one of the things that we could look here is that there are 47 TLDs taken, so many more places are using these Besst with a dot whatever at the end, .in, .pl, .co, .top. You can see here's the .com that's taken, so there's a lot more of these that are being taken, so that shows it's a lot more popular. There's actually some search results for it. Ours, like I said, when we look at the exact volume, it's closer to 900. It's not the 80,000 or whatever they claimed. And search volume, when we look at, you know, a broader search volume, there's not that many. There's not that many searches is what we take from this. Nobody's advertising on that keyword itself. They're not willing to pay for it. But we see that there's a lot of domains that also contain this. There's, you know, almost 1,200 other names that have this BESST in them. And like I said, 47 exact match ones that are taken. And when we look down here, I figured that we would see some companies that are using this, and there's 50 companies almost that are using this, right? There's no trademarks, which is good and bad. You know, if there's a lot of trademarks, then that shows that people really value this name and they want to protect this this keyword in commerce use. So they want to, you know, show the importance of its use in commerce by this. But having no trademarks isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that means that you'll have wide open opportunities to use this name for pretty much any commercial use. And you can see that the automated valuations are much higher. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to convert this to a research snapshot so we can pull some of these comps. And you can see we're looking for the words that contain this, that are similar to this. Lizzie is like a, you know, a personal name, so I'm going to remove that from my comps. But Medi and Weddy and Topper, these are brandable type names. I'm going to stick with this one since it's the most recent. We're going to take a look at a couple more. Rizzy, that's not bad. As a comp, as a recent name. And we'll take a look at it. We'll actually sort here by price. And let's see if we can find something that's similar. Bulls is not bad. You know, it's not Bulls with an S at the end. And Besst isn't spelled with 2 S's. So they're both brandables, and they're kind of similar, and they're really recent, right, within the last couple of years. So I think these are some good comps to use. And when we look down here, we see that this is a much higher chance of selling, a higher value, so a better chance of selling for a higher value. You can see our retail value price, our best price, and our wholesale price. So this is something that I figured would come in around the same. So if the wholesale price on this name versus the other name, Flexiderm versus Besst, if we can expect to pay around the same amount of money to pick this name up versus the other one, then I would be bidding on this one all day long, because I've got the same or probably around the same acquisition costs, which with a much higher exit price potentially. And one of the things that I really liked about this is that we look at this data affinity count. We've got 48 companies that are using this name. So I'm going to go over here and look at this. I looked up Besst on Open Corporate. It's very similar to data affinity that we use. And you could see here are 114 companies that Open Corporate finds with Besst. And you can see what they are. So Besst Appliance Service, Besst Bark, Besst Bingo, right? And so when we look at this, you can see that there's a lot of companies that might be interested in owning this name, right? Besst.com would fit their brand exactly. And when we look at Plexiderm, and I just want to make sure that I am remembering it right. I am Plexiderm. When we look at that, you could see there's one company in Washington that is using it. usually if we click this, it'll give us a little more information. So you can see kind of, how big they are. There's 4 officers. When did they start? They started recently. So this is some good information, and it'll tell you where they are. So you could go look them up and figure out, what kind of company they are. But my main point here is that we've got a lot higher adoption on Besst than Flexiderm, right? And so that points to an indication of value, of a better chance to resell this name. If we go to the Domain Explorer and we look up Besst, so this is the Domain Explorer tool. This is going to show us those 47, and it's also going to show us the other 1,200 names. So you could see Vibes Studio contains Besst, but it's not really, the keyword Besst. It just happens to have those same names. Besst Trade, or it could be Besst Trade as somebody who's doing a hack. So let's take a look and see. Besst Explainer. So Besst Explainer is using that keyword Besst. The best broker with 2 H's and 2 S's and 2 R's and 2 E's. They might like Best.com. And here you got the best platform, same thing. We're going to go down here and see Besster might be a good one. They're definitely using that. Best and Best Doc and Best Storage. We want to really see, here you go, Best Survivor. We want to see something like this that is using that Besst and then another keyword. So we could see that there are names like that are in here. Here's the Besst, right? So there's other people that might potentially want to shorten their names. And then we've got a bunch of these non-com TLDs like the net. We're going to take a look at the COUK. And we'll take a look at .info. And we'll just see what's up. So you can see that somebody's got a Wix site, but they didn't build it out yet. Here you go. You can see that somebody is using this Best.net. They might be a good potential buyer. Might want to upgrade to the com. And here you go, behavioral and social sciences, teaching and medicine, Best.info. They've got a real site and a real business. So what I'm seeing here is that there's a lot of adoption by real businesses from looking at the corporate filings that we have. We could look in Google for that keyword and see that there are businesses that are built around that. You got an award for it here in USAID.gov. They've got the best education support systems for teachers. There's a company here with 830 followers. So you can see, and here's that Best Survivor that we just talked about. So you can see that there's companies that are using this keyword, and there's adoption in other TLDs with real websites that are built around this keyword, and there's other people that are using longer words that might want to upgrade. So when I compare and contrast these two names, and I look at our estimate for what we think the acquisition cost would be, I would be much more willing to bid and spend money on this Best.com name than I would on the Plexiderm, because it doesn't have these same value propositions. There's not as many potential buyers. When we're looking in the corporations, we had none on Data Affinity, 1 in Oprah Corporates. When we look up Plexiderm, they're saying you're making a mistake. You want to find Plexiderm, right? Let's search instead for Plexiderm. So there's really not a lot of the same value indicators when we look at Plexiderm versus Besst. So hopefully this is helpful. If you found this helpful, we'd love to hear your comments. If there's anything that you'd like to know that we left out, please comment. You'd help our channel to grow by like and subscribing, and also sharing this out to people who might be interested in learning about domains. Thanks for watching, and check us out at domainacademy.com. We've got classes that teach you how to invest in domains, tons more educational videos, and access to all of our tools. Thanks.